Hey guys, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher. If you're new here, my name is Lauren and I am a full-time kindergarten teacher who flips furniture on the side in order to earn a profit that I put straight toward my student loan debt. Today, I'm gonna be flipping this pair of nightstands, and if you haven't already, go check out Monday's video because these nightstands actually were conjured up from that set. And what I mean by that is someone wanted just those nightstands from Monday's video, and I did not want to separate, so I said, well, I have a couple of other nightstands. Would you be interested? I can do the same exact look for you. Moral of the story is she said yes. I've got a $100 deposit in my Venmo account because I want to make sure that she's going to come and pick them up. And I am going to get $225 from her. These only cost me $7 each, $14 in, and I am going to do the classic Rustoleum chalk paint with smoked glaze on top. That's right, we are doing 2 Rustoleum smoked glaze projects in 1 week. Are you guys excited or what? Because I know you guys love it. So for all my flippers out there, I think there's a lesson here for all of us. If someone is interested in something that you've got for sale, but you're not quite ready to separate, or you've already got someone interested and they bought it, always offer up a solution. So the solution here was, well, I don't want to separate these, or it's already sold, but I do have other nightstands. I can do this for you. Would you be interested? That way you're putting that solution in their brain, and chances are they'll say yes, and then you've got that customer as well as the other one. So let's get started with removing our hardware. Another great gift from my Amazon wish list. You guys, your continuous support seriously baffles me every time, and every time that I come home to a new package, I just take a minute and I pause and I think about the position that I am in and the position that you guys have allowed me to become in. And it might seem so small that someone bought this for me, but not only does it support my work, but it also just makes me feel good, and then that in turn inspires me to then help you guys as well. So again, thank you to everyone who has purchased something from my Amazon wish list. Let's get taking this hardware off. I've actually been in contact with the person who is going to be buying these, and she wants to replace the hardware. I think it's pretty cool hardware, so I'm still going to go ahead and keep it. Our next step is to go ahead and get to cleaning, and then we will be doing some wood filler. As you can see, there's a bit of damage here. The whole corner got chipped off, but I know that I'll be able to kind of level that out, and then it'll be no problem once the paint goes over it. So I'm cleaning today with the Super Clean. It's a degreaser, which you definitely want in your cleaners. You want to get all the dirt and grime and oils and just everything wiped off and cleaned off. So spraying a good amount. I do get a couple of questions about why I clean before I sand and then I clean again. And I actually didn't used to do that, but I've learned that if I sanded first without cleaning, it would basically be just like rubbing in the dirt and the oils into the wood or into the material. And that's not really what you want to do. So you want to get everything cleaned off and then sand. I know it's a pain to have to kind of clean twice, but that's kind of the reasoning behind that. yucky water. That's kind of some gross water. Not as gross as I've seen, but that's why you need to clean. Now, we are going to dry these off, and then I'm gonna do the wood filler on the top here and also in the hardware holes. So I'm gonna be using my minwax wood filler today. And I'm gonna grab it and we're gonna just glob it on there. It's a pretty good gouge. I'm gonna use this wood filler because I know that it's strong and tough, and I definitely want this area to be strong and tough. And then again, once this dries, we will sand everything down and it'll all be even. And the plan is that you won't even be able to notice that it was ever broken like that. We're gonna set this out in the sun for it to dry. Tip, if you didn't know, the sun helps you dry things like paint and wood filler. So, looks pretty good to me. And we're also gonna fill the holes where the hardware was. So when I'm doing the wood filler, my tip, and what I always like to do is kind of to glob it on, and that way once you sand it down it'll be even with the surface, and you can never have too much. Yes, it'll take just a bit longer to dry, but I've never had any issues with it drying and then being nice and flat once you sand it down, because really the only wood filler that should stay is the filler in the hole, because everything else should be nice and smoothed out. And you'll know a little bit more what I mean when I show you when I'm sanding everything down. All right, that's got to dry for a while before we get to sand it down. So I'm going to show you guys another project I've been working on. Here we are. I found some new style of chairs to flip. They've still got the velvet, so that's in common, but the other parts, the wood parts, are different. And I thought that, what the heck, might as well try it. I found these pink and wood ones with cane at the Restore, and I got them both for $40 together. And we are just gonna clean them up a little bit. They are in almost perfect condition. There's just a few little markings on the cushions, but I'm gonna get those out with my Bissell, wipe down the wood and kind of revitalize it just a tad bit, and then post them. It's gonna be very minimal work. And then, lo and behold, a couple of days later, my mom found these on Facebook Marketplace for $40 for the pair. So they actually just traveled about 30 minutes to go and pick them up for me. They have honestly maybe been sat in 5 times, and one of those was me when I was trying it out. They're in literally perfect condition. I barely even have to clean them. I'm going to, because that's what I do, and they probably do got some dust inside there. But again, very minimal work. We're gonna see what happens. They've got these mid-century legs. They've got the cane. They've got the velvet. Can't go wrong. I'm just gonna give it a try, and if it works out, you guys will also have some new style of chairs to try flipping. Okay, so I've got my handy dandy Bissell here, and we are just going to lightly clean all of these because they're in such nice condition. Here we go. All right, those are gonna dry out a little bit, and then we'll do some photos and post them. That was easy. Actually, I think I do need to. Sup?
He was like, and he's like,
All right, so my next step now that they are all vacuumed is I'm going to just kind of wipe down the wood here. Okay, so pledge. And then we're just gonna kind of shine it up a little bit here. Okay, all cleaned up. That took me probably about 20, maybe 30 minutes to do both vacuuming and wiping everything down. So now we'll get them staged and photographed and post them on Facebook Marketplace. And I am going to be posting the pink ones for $260 and then the more orangey ones for $360. And the reason being is just because these orangey ones are in a little bit better condition, and also, to be honest, my dad really wants to keep them for our living room. But we told him if we can get our asking price, they're gonna go. If we can't, or if we have to lower it much below 300, then maybe we'll keep them around in the living room for a little bit longer. So let's get these guys posted. All right, let's get some photos here. Just did very minimal staging, nothing too crazy. We don't want to take away from the beauty of the chairs. So I just did a little side table. Technically it's a stool with a blanket over it. And then some cups and a plant. I'll always throw some greenery in there if you can, because that's very appealing to the eye. But I'm just gonna get some photos, some details, and then we'll get these posted. So really all I'm gonna be doing is taking these chairs out, replacing them with the orange ones, not really doing much else with my staging because it really highlights both sets of chairs evenly. And then I'll get them posted onto Facebook Marketplace on 2 separate posts for their respective prices. And then we'll go check on the wood filler. Well, while we were waiting for the Nightstands wood filler to dry, these didn't last long, less than an hour after posting them. We got a full price offer, plus we are gonna be delivering for an extra $25. So that means I got $285 in my Venmo account, and then minus the $40 that I bought them for. So we're at a profit of $245. And so we're gonna go deliver them now, and then we'll get back to the nightstands. Okay. Wood filler is finally dry. It actually had to dry overnight in this area because we kind of piled it up pretty high, and I wanted to make sure that that was going to be durable enough to hold up after I sand it down. So we're ready for sanding. I am going to be using an 80 grit to get the wood filler all sanded down, then I'll come back through with 120 grit. I'm gonna be really careful right here on the edge because I don't want to chip this away at all. So I'm just gonna take my hand sander and even that out. And now we've got a perfectly rebuilt corner. So we're gonna prime. Okay, so last time I was priming with the spray paint, it kind of got all over the drawers. So I found this in our garage. So I'm going to tape around the outsides of the drawers so that I don't get the spray primer all over. It's a little extra step, but I do think that it will protect the drawers and make it look a little nicer. Once we've got that on there, then we can just unwrap. You can find this in this painting section in any hardware store. We just happen to have some on hand because it's really used to do a round trim when you're painting a room. I've seen some other people use this when they're doing sprayers, paint sprayers like K. Scott over at Salvage by K. Scott. And DIY Wife has used this as well. They do a lot of spraying, so this comes in handy. Get a lot of questions, why don't I spray? Well, the one reason is because I don't have a sprayer yet, and the other reason is because I don't have time to learn. But my plan is in the summertime, I'm going to get a sprayer and I'm going to try it out. I'll have a lot more time then, so hopefully that'll also make my projects go a bit faster. But you can always count on me using a brush here and there because I don't think I'll ever go away from that. All right, so as I did in Monday's video with the other mismatch set, I am going to be using the Zinsser Bin Primer Shellac Base in the spray paint form. I'm gonna give this another try. It gave me a little bit of a rough time last time, but I'm here willing to try again. Shake vigorously until ball inside can rattles. Turn upside down and shake. All right, let's do it. I love how fast the primer goes on, really. However, the cost of it, $8 for one of those cans for the shellac base. And when I'm using shellac base, it's because the wood might pop through. the color of the wood might pop through the paint that I'm going to use. So I need to use that shellac base so that I can seal any of those stain blocking in, but I like the ease and I like the time. So I just got to decide, do I think that it's worth it? Cuts into my profit just a tad bit, but that timing thing is really big as well for me. I still don't know if it's worth it. So I decided I'm gonna leave the plastic on here until I'm all the way done. Might as well, that way I don't chance getting paint on the drawers after I've tried so hard not to. I'm gonna be sanding down the primer with 150 grit sandpaper. Okay, and the reason that I'm doing a quick sanding is because the primer is pretty rough once that goes on there, and that's either if you use spray primer or regular primer. So this is just a good step to take between coats. Okay, so I've got just a little bit of linen white left from some previous projects. So I'm gonna use that and then we'll get my new can out. I am going to be watering down my paint with a spray bottle, and this is so that I can get a really smooth finish. A lot of you guys ask me, how do I get rid of brush strokes? Well, this is how. You water it down just a tad bit, and then that allows it to slide and glide onto the surface without leaving so many brush strokes. It thins out the paint and it's not so thick. All right, coat number 1 is all finished up, so that's gonna dry for a little while and then we'll be back for coat number 2. Alrighty, we're ready back here for a second coat of the linen white. Again, I'm just making it nice and smooth to go right on. Same technique as the first coat. Second coat, you really just wanna make sure that you are not getting any drips, things like that. The 2 coats of white are all on there and the white is gonna dry now. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be using the aged gray Rustoleum chalk paint for the tops of these nightstands. So I'm gonna be emulating the same smoked glaze effect, but the smoked glaze comes on after the gray paint. I'm gonna be doing the same thing also with my mister so that the paint can get a little bit thinner, and then it will go on a lot smoother, and it'll also help to eliminate those brush strokes. So this will need 2 coats. So we're gonna get the first one on here so it can start drying, and then we'll do coat number 2 before the smoked glaze goes on. Okay, first coat on the gray is done, And so now it's just gotta dry and then we'll be able to do coat number 2. We're back for coat number 2 of the gray, and actually in between coats I did have to spray a little bit of primer. There was some darkness popping through, so I just sprayed a little bit of primer, sanded that down a little so it's smooth, and I'm hoping this last coat of gray will do the trick. Check out this corner here. This is the one that I repaired, and it looks really good, if I do say so myself. And then with the stained glaze, smoked glaze going over it, you won't even be able to tell that I put it together. I don't know what to call it. Reconstructed. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. So the second coat of this one is gonna be enough, but since I had to spray that primer on the other one, I'm gonna have to do one more light coat of gray on the top before I get to the smoked glaze. So in the meantime, while those are drying, I am going to drill some new holes for the new hardware. I am actually using these same hardware pieces that I used on the last set that I did like this, and I actually gave the opportunity to the customer to pick out the hardware because I had a few different options. She could either keep those or choose some new ones. So she ended up going with the more square option. And we're gonna just put it right in the middle there. All right, holes are all drilled, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and put the top coat on the white part. Wait, I've got to distress first, so that's gonna be my next step. These drawers are actually perfect to distress. They've got these raised edges here, and then the perfect corners as well. So when you distress, you're just gonna go lightly across the top of the surface and basically take back some, not all, of the paint that you just painted. You're gonna really focus on the edges and places that might get nicked up in a regular setting, not really in the middle. That's how I like to distress. Some people like to do some more distressing here in the middle, but that's just not my preference. And then you're going to grab a chip brush to get this dust wiped back. Then you'll be ready for the top coat when that time comes. So I'm gonna be using my sponge brush here with my matte clear top coat, and this actually does a really good job of protecting things. I've actually got some furniture, actually our kitchen table is painted with Rustoleum and using this matte clear top coat. So it truly does hold up. So it's not a bad product whatsoever. I actually recommend this if you're just starting out. So you can find all of this linked down below in the description. For the top coat, you're just going to brush it on, and you're gonna do even layer of this because you don't want to get too much here, because if you do, then you'll end up with clumps and dripping, and then it'll dry like that and it'll look funky once you're finished. So always make sure there's no chunks when you are brushing this on. Okay, top coat is all finished up for the white part. I am going to go ahead and start on the smoked glaze on the tops. Then we'll let that dry, and while that's drying, I'll go ahead and put in the drawers and the hardware. I've done several projects. I can't even count the amount of projects that I've done with this, and it's only about halfway gone. So it does last you a long time. And all you need is a brush, your smoked glaze, and a cloth. And I like to use a lint-free cloth, that way we're not getting any lint or dust in our glaze. So I'm just going to take a brush and we're gonna brush it on all over the top of this nightstand. And then we're also gonna go down the edges as well. I'm gonna be pretty careful on the edges of getting it on the white. You don't want any of it on the white, because then you'll have to redo all that. Okay, now that that is all on there, we're gonna kind of dampen our cloth, get a little bit of smoked glaze on the cloth, just so that it kind of glides easier. And then we're gonna wipe away. We're gonna go in one direction, minus when I'm on the sides, but then I'll always go back over it in that one direction. And obviously the more you wipe away, the lighter it kind of gets, but I don't ever want to do it too dark because I'm not going for a black top. I'm just going for a little smoked top. So still want it to be gray, just has a little bit of more design. Okay, so that one's done. Let's do the next one. So the longer you leave this on there, the darker it gets. That's why I try to kind of apply this nicely but quickly. Again, I don't want that dark, dark look. All right. Smoked glaze is all finished up, and I really like to put, if I'm doing two separate pieces, I like to put them kind of together in order to kind of make sure that they're pretty cohesive, that one's not darker than the other, things like that. And these ones really have a similar look, so I think we're done here. It is finally time to take off the plastic from the drawers. And then we'll get this hardware on and the drawers slid in. So hopefully my plan worked with this and that we won't have any overspray. Perfect. So this wood is pretty thick. It's almost like there's a drawer and then this is the face of the drawer. So the screws, they usually, when you get new hardware, it comes with two sizes of screws. And so I'm gonna actually be using the longer screws for probably like the first time that I've ever used the longer screws. Generally they're pretty shallow, and sometimes I've even had to get shorter screws, but these ones are going to be the longer ones. Alrighty, we are all done. Well, almost. I've still got to do a top coat on the tops, but that's going to be just in a little while. I'm going to set these in front of the fan so that they'll dry, and then we'll come back and do the top coat. And even though these are for a customer, a custom order, we're still going to take photos because we always love the afters and the befores next to each other. It's just something that is really truly my favorite part of furniture flipping. And then of course, so that you guys can see them as well. Okay, the tops are dry. That fan really helps speed up the process a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the top coat on. Okay, top coat's done. These are done officially. They've just got to dry. And then of course I will tell my customer, I recommend do not set anything on the tops of these for at least a week, but I usually say 2 or 3 weeks just to be sure that it cures and it's dry all the way so it doesn't get messed up. First, I want to talk about the numbers, and then we'll go into what I kind of thought about that spray paint and the hardware and so on. For the numbers of these nightstands, it was a custom piece and I charged $225 after buying both of them for $14 together and then spending a little bit more than I wanted to on the primer and the paint and such. I am in at about $30. So that gives me a total profit of $195 that I get to put straight toward my student loan debt. And then I know it was so fast, but the chairs, those went out of here as well. And so I spent $40 on those. As I said, I got a profit of $245 because with delivery, we charge $285. So between the chairs and the nightstands, we are at a total for this video of $480 going straight toward my student loan debt. And let's talk about the primer. As I was sitting down, thinking about, do I truly think that this is something that I want to continue using, or do I want to continue using the can of primer where I brush it on? And there's really pros and cons of both. And the only really con of the spray is the price. The price is $8 for a spray can, and I can barely get 2 nightstands sprayed with that. Whereas the can is a little bit less expensive and I can go for more projects. However, I do have to think about the fact that although I can wash the brushes after I use that primer, it's just so messy. So honestly, I just get cheap brushes and I throw them away once I'm done using that primer. So that's another cost each time I use that primer. And then second, as I'm brushing it on, I try not to glob it on there and make big brush stroke marks, but since it's an oil-based primer, I can't add the water. And so that is just already causing those brush strokes on my very first layer. And that's something that I really was pleased with using the spray paint. So I think for the most part, if I'm not using the Dixie Belle products and things like that, I think I'm gonna lean more toward the spray paint. And unless it's storming or windy, very windy out, I'm gonna be using that spray primer. I would love to see your guys' projects when using the Rustoleum Smoked Glaze. I've been getting some messages over on Instagram sharing their stories with using the Rustoleum Smoked Glaze. So if you'd like to share it with me, tag me in your posts on your stories. You have to make sure that your profile is public so that I can see that, but I would love to see your guys' work with the Rustoleum Smoked Glaze. It is Thursday. We have actually decided to extend the t-shirts through this evening. So if you haven't already, be sure to go over and order your See You on the Flip Side shirt. We have had a tremendous turnout for our first merchandise launch. The limited edition shirt is truly going away tonight. So get yours now. The link is below in the description. Thank you, FFT community, for all of your constant support here on Instagram and just to each other. You guys inspire me day in and day out, and catch you on Monday for our next video. You will not want to miss that. We have a very exciting video for you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.